Every year, the global economy hemorrhages $480 billion to cross-border tax abuse. This extraction splits into two distinct vectors: $311 billion to multinational corporate evasion and $169 billion routed away by wealthy individuals. High-income nations facilitate 99.3% of this global extraction. The impact is drastically asymmetric. Lower-income nations lose 6.32% of their tax revenue to this abuse, compared to 1.56% in higher-income nations. That missing revenue represents the exact capital required to meet the world's sustainable development goals over the next 10 years. This calculated systemic extraction starves international development and undermines sovereign governance. The fiscal social contract is an implied agreement. Citizens contribute capital to the state, and the state returns public goods. When a state relies directly on citizens for revenue, it becomes structurally accountable to them. Modern globalization breaks this loop. Massive transnational entities use their scale to bypass the system, creating a parallel economy of private gain. As capital diverts away from the state, that central pillar of accountability fractures. A state starved of this revenue defaults on its social obligations. As public services like healthcare and childcare are stripped away, the essential labor they provided moves back into the private sphere. This burden falls disproportionately on vulnerable demographics. Research indicates that women must absorb these costs themselves, effectively subsidizing the economy through intense, unpaid care work. Opting out of the tax system is a direct structural violation of basic human rights obligations, shifting the cost of society on those least equipped to bear it. We need to examine exactly how multinational corporations engineer that $311 billion loss. The flaw is standard entity-level taxation. This pipeline shows how multinationals legally treat subsidiaries as independent entities. This allows profit shifting, routing revenue into zero-tax jurisdictions while leaving operational costs in high-tax regions, completely bypassing authorities. The Tax Justice Network developed the A to G3 framework, a specific set of institutional mechanisms required to patch these structural leaks. Mechanism C requires multinationals to publicly report profits and costs in every operating region. Mechanism F then taxes them on total global profit, divided proportionally by real economic activity. Replacing entity-level rules with formulary apportionment mathematically eliminates the economic incentive for corporate tax havens to exist. That leaves the remaining $169 billion extracted by high-net-worth individuals and their professional enablers. This capital is shielded from the state through a complex web of shell companies, trusts, and golden visa schemes that allow the ultra-wealthy to purchase residency in low-tax jurisdictions. The scale of this hidden wealth only became clear when global data leaks like the Panama Papers exposed these offshore financial structures to the public. Mechanism B, beneficial ownership registers, strips away legal shells to disclose the actual human profiting. This requires Mechanism A, automatic exchange of information, ensuring continuous data sharing between tax authorities to prevent hiding wealth. Removing anonymity makes it impossible for elites to operate above the law, restoring the basic tenets of the fiscal social contract. Now, regulatory bodies face an entirely new stress test: the rapid rise of digital assets. There are over 9,000 different crypto assets currently on the market, operating almost entirely outside the traditional regulated banking architecture. These unregulated digital networks act as modern blockchain havens, providing a highly evolved methodology to undermine national tax bases and facilitate capital flight. This is Mechanism E, enforcement. Fair tax laws are irrelevant without financial capacity. Underfunded agencies create a systemic bias, making it cheaper to audit low-income households while ignoring complex elite crypto portfolios. A functioning state requires the financial firepower to enforce its laws equally against private capital. Tracking elite wealth across both physical and digital domains requires an overarching data solution. Mechanism G2 proposes a global asset registry. It weaves disparate national databases together into a single centralized ledger. This registry captures the ultimate owners of the non-liquid assets often used to park illicit wealth, cross-referencing specific individuals to real estate, fine art, and private aircraft. Establishing this comprehensive registry is the mandatory first step for Mechanism G3, good taxes. It gives states the visibility required to accurately enforce progressive wealth taxes. Comprehensive, borderless visibility into asset ownership is the only way a society can have an informed, actionable debate on extreme wealth inequality. Tax can no longer be treated as a strictly domestic transaction. It requires an international regulatory body that transcends borders. Traditionally, this international architecture has been managed by the OECD. The problem is that the OECD is heavily influenced by the exact same high-income nations that facilitate the $480 billion extraction. A framework drafted by the beneficiaries fails the developing nations bearing the cost. Mechanism G1 focuses on global governance. It advocates replacing the OECD's role with an inclusive, representative United Nations tax body to override corporate capture. This shift aligns with the UN's Surge initiative's push for a human rights economy, an alternative model that prioritizes social sustainability over corporate advantage. The official stance of human rights leadership is clear. Addressing structural barriers to equality requires aggressive investment in economic and social rights. Deploying the A to G3 framework to reclaim the lost $480 billion is the prerequisite for enforcing the fiscal social contract and securing human rights on a global scale.